Well, I think specific to my community, it impacts the Latino community, especially right now where there's a lot of policy changes going on. I've worked as a youth advocate and family advocate at a local domestic violence shelter, and a lot of the women that I work with are victims of domestic violence. And many of these women are immigrants, and a lot of them are fearful, and a lot of them are very scared right now. And even their children, they're talking about immigration. And these kids are like 5 or 6 years old, and it makes me wonder how do they know about these topics, because most of the time it's just like on the news. But they know because their parents are talking about it every day. The new administration is proposing a lot of policy changes that are going to impact more than 11 million people in the United States. And it impacts the Latino community because a lot of them are fearful. Some of them, which are not even undocumented immigrants, they're scared because of the policy changes that are happening in Arizona that are right now. They're debating about whether they should even make it legal for police to implement immigration laws, which is a total different subject. Immigration is a federal subject, and police are more like local or state subject. So it's impacting people in the Latino community because they're very nervous, they're scared, and they're waiting to hear something concrete, whether it be good or bad. They're kind of tired of this fluctuation of change in mind, so they just want to know what the future is going to hold.
My next question is, what would you like people to know about your community and how immigration affects it?
Well, I would like people to know that not all immigrants are rapists or any criminals. There's a lot of immigrants, the majority which are parents, and they already built a community here, so their children go to the schools here. And just recently, ACLU released a study which has 5,000 foster care children that are in the foster care system because their parents were either detained or deported. So it's costing the state taxpayer money, but it's also breaking up families, and it's creating this environment of hostility and fear in the community. So just educating yourself about immigration and the impact it has on the community in your schools and your overall community, being aware that it could possibly break a lot of families up. I think that's what I want people to know.
Immigration, my parents are Haitian American. They came here in the 70s. And so for me, immigration is very close. It's very important to me. We are currently in a time where there's a lot of political unrest in Haiti, and there has been for years. And so Haitians are often coming to the U.S. as refugees, but the U.S. doesn't necessarily recognize them as refugees. So they're often sent back to either die or be jailed or something, or they are held in detention centers and then they're sent back for a while. So it's been a really, especially with the current administration and the politics or the policies that are out there right now, it's been a very tumultuous time. At this point, my family's been here for a while, but I do have lots of cousins and whose immigration status isn't necessarily stable, I guess. And so there's a lot of information that we're trying to get to see what can be done, or what are the new laws, or can people go back and come back? And so there's a lot of fear. People don't want to go and visit, family members who are dying or family members who need help. People don't want to leave because they don't know if they can come back. And there are lots of stories of people who have left and who tried to come back and now they're stuck in Haiti. And so they have a full life here and they can't come back to it. So it's interesting for me in the sense because the way I'm looking at it through this, I guess, I don't even know what lens it would be in a sense because it affects a lot of my family members. Not saying that it doesn't affect me necessarily, because I also feel like I'm in a vulnerable position. But it's been much more. Much more on top of the conversation of the things that we talk about now than it has been in the past. In the past, I mean, we had the 80s and the 90s with like lots of images of like Haitian folks on boats going back to Haiti, or dying in boats, or getting to Cuba and not making it, or whatever else. So it's tense, but we're just waiting and seeing what happens. We don't know what's going to happen.
After Donald Trump became president, he was making a lot of changes to immigration policies, or trying to change things. I remember being really scared for this kid on my swim team, because we got an email from the school saying that, like, if he had, like, for some reason, if he went back to the country that he was from, which was one of the like Muslim, like, banned countries, that he couldn't come back to the U.S. So it was just like sad to think that he couldn't visit his family during the summer, and that he possibly could not come back to school and like be a part of our team, be a part of like the team family. And that was just like a weird thing to be like, is this? It was very surreal, and I guess it like had an impact on me and made me like think so much more about like other people's situations.
Well, when I look back at my community or my family, I've been doing research, and I find, in particular, one group, my great-great-great-grandpa came from Norway in the mid-1800s, and there was a lot of information to them saying, come here, this land is empty, and it wasn't. There was a lot of people living on the land, and there was a lot of treaties and manipulation done to steal the land. And then it was given away at very low prices to people like my people, who were told that they could come live here. And I've been really researching that lately and thinking about it, and how that it's often people who came in that generation and pretty much stole the land who are now opposed to more people coming, and it just doesn't make sense at all. And so I'm very worried, because I think this country is much better when we have more and diverse people, and that's really what's made the country. And so in the neighborhood that I live in South Minneapolis, I feel that there is more of a sense of fear, because there's a lot of Latino people living around me, and I feel that it's changing the neighborhood in a way that is not good, to live with people who feel fear that they might be have immigration officials arrest them on buses and public transit and things like that. That just can't be good for anybody and any community. And so it makes me feel fearful, and fearful for what happened in the past as well.